A very happy morning to all. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Aravind Sitaraman, a computer scientist with over 29 years of work experience and was a one Cisco Systems leading investor with 57 patents. He led and was part of several international standard bodies. He managed all Cisco R&D activities in India from 2007 to 2009. He sponsored the Innovation Hub to incubate new technologies and create solutions for emerging countries. He led Cisco India CSR effort and launched several successful programs, including Feed a Child and Adopt a School. He rehabilitated tsunami victims in South India and championed flood relief effort in Karnataka in 2009. Aravind created Project Samudaya, a volunteer-led program to rehabilitate villages through technology and build 3,323 homes, 1 hospital and 2 schools. Aravind morphed this project into a vehicle to deliver inclusive growth worldwide. In October 2010, he was appointed President Inclusive Growth. Recognizing his social contribution, the state of Karnataka conferred on him its highest civilization decoration, the Rajastava Award, in 2012. He is a member of Asia Center, a policy think tank in Bangalore. Aravind co-founded Shivagami Ammal Memorial Trust to promote Indian culture and art. Serves an advisory board of Akshaya Patra and Nanobi, a big data analytics. In 2010, he wrote and produced an opera on the first woman freedom fighter of India called Abbaka Rani, a queen of spices. Today, we are fortunate to listen to him on very relevant topic, Indian culture and giving, its relevance in a contemporary world. Here, I request Aravind Sitaraman.
I updated the photograph. So the photograph that I sent was with me in a suit. And many of you might have been very surprised as to why I came in this attire. Working on the Kumbhabhishekam of Kamakshi Amman Temple in Kanchipuram. So I went to sleep at, went to sleep at midnight, got up at 3 o'clock, took a flight to come here because I gave Purnima my word that I would be here. So therefore, and right after this, I'm taking a flight going back to see what's going on at the temple. So I'm playing a very small role. There are other people who are playing a great role. Thank you so much, Ananth for inviting, and for Purnima for bringing me up with Ananth and the Rotarians. And Singhji, your speech was very good. I will address some points of it. And Sagarji, thank you. And other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Can we switch to the presso? Okay. 100 years of a foundation is not a small thing. It's a great achievement. And to grow from $24, you said, to $26.5, very specific, to $1 billion is just even more spectacular. And to continue this effort is even great. And what was presented a few minutes earlier is just remarkable how a group of people, when they are committed and they come together, more importantly, a group of people who are invested in their country. All of you are educated, you run businesses, you give employment, you own property, so you're really invested in the country. And when you come together, these small things that you're doing would appear very small when you achieve the much larger things that you're aspiring to do. That was proposed earlier also. Fantastic. So congratulations. It is very, very impressive. So today we're going to talk about Indian culture and giving. There is a canard floating around in the international media, and media is full of canards these days, that Indians really don't give. Specifically, Hindus don't give. It's not in their culture to give. So I want to break that myth today and talk to you about why it is an intrinsic part of our culture. It's not just part of our culture, it's intrinsic part of culture, and what it means. And you would see as I reveal the different layers, how much our forefathers had thought about giving to society and to other people. So first, let's talk about this culture that we talk about, Bharata Varsha. So many of you might have heard this term, Bharata Varsha, especially when you do pujas, you're asked to hold your hand like this and say, Bharata Varshe, Bharata Gande. Bharata Varsha is the cultural nation. We are not talking about individual nations, but a cultural nation. It spanned from Iraq to Borneo, Siberia to Maldives. Several thousands of people, millions of people lived in it. There were hundreds of kingdoms in it. They spoke completely different languages. But they had one unique culture. This entire landmass had one unique culture. 700 years we've seen Christian nations from Europe, Islamic nations or countries set up in India, Hindu nations fight each other. Strangely, it still survives. So the question is, what is this culture that we're talking about? So before we get into that, let's look at how was Bharata Varsha in terms of economy. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, this is a think tank funded by the European Union. They did a study to find out what is the economic history of the world, because there was one French historian who said the French economy and standard of living at the height of Renaissance was not even a portion of what was there in India 2000 years ago. This stunned the entire establishment, because what are we taught? We are taught the Europeans developed, Americans developed because of industrial revolution, productivity increases, discovery or invention of electricity and so on. So this was a big shock. Say, how did this happen? So they did a very large study. A lot of people were commissioned, several $1 billion were spent, and this is a summary of the chart. So when you look at this chart, the blue line was Bharata Varsha, or predominantly India, Bharata Ganda, okay, Khanda. So when you see that, this is a very conservative estimate. Bharata Khanda, or Bharata Varsha, however you want to see it, controlled about 33% of the world economy and wealth. For the last 2000 years, it was the largest economy in the world for 1500 years. For another 300 years, it was the second largest economy. Between India and China, there were some tug of war going as to who was going to be number one. So this is amazing. We may not think too much of it, but certainly the West woke up and said, how is this possible? And this is what they found. The decline started with the Mughal Empire. It's nothing to do with Islam or Muslims, so don't take me in that vein at all. The decline started with the Mughal Empire because of so many wars that were being fought, unnecessary destruction that was created. And the British gained because of Maratha decline. It is not British won. They won because somebody else declined. Maratha was already there in Delhi, and they had many of the country conquered. And Western Europe grew at the expense of India and China. In India, they looted the wealth, took it there. In China, they made people into opium addicts. They grew the opium in India, exported to China, forced people to use opium and made them addicts. This is how they grew. And USA dramatically grew with cotton output from India. Okay, so you need to understand the background that we have something very significant in our history and in our culture that essentially made us so great. So question is, can we be a great nation again? What does it take? So let's look at some of why is it that we were great. We talk about Sanatana dharma. What is Sanatana dharma? Sanatana dharma literally means everlasting way of life. It's not a religion, it's everlasting way of life. Now what is this way of life? There are 4 facets to Sanatana dharma. One is individual principles. What are the good and bad activities for an individual? Karma, there is no English word for karma, so I would say it's karma. Karma is basically results of good and bad activities. Third is an individual. How can an individual be a good citizen? Fourth is, how do you build a good society? We are going to talk more about the last two, individual and society, and we are not going to talk about the other two because I don't have much time. But just suffice to say that principle is essentially means there are 5 things that we need to indulge in and 5 things we need to avoid. Very standard things. Things you need to avoid: stealing, lying, so on and so forth. Things you want to indulge in is cleanliness, not only of physical cleanliness, environmental cleanliness like Swachh Bharat, also internal cleanliness. So a bunch of different things that are there. I'm not going to get into details. Karma, as many of you may know, is what follows you throughout. Your good and bad activities follows you every janma. And there are 3 kinds of karma. Your Sankitam. Sankitam is a storage of all the karmas you've done, an accounting book of everything you've done, good or bad. Prarabdham is what is manifested in this life, good or bad. Third is Agami, which is what you do in this life, good or bad. Okay, so that's the basic. But let's spend on the last 2 points, individual and society. If you notice here, 3 of the 4 is about the individual. Good and bad activities, results of karma, and how to be a good citizen. 3 out of the 4 are about the individual. It's not about collective. The 4th is about the collective. Question is, what does principles mean? Before we answer that, let's look at why we are humans first. Viveka Chudamani starts out with this statement. Jantunam narajalmam durlabham. Amongst all the different jantus, creatures, beings that are in the world, to be a human is very, very hard. In Tamil, there is a great poet called Auvayar. She said, Aridu aridu manidaravadu aridu. So if you understand Tamil, you'll understand it. It's very, very hard to be a human being because you have to graduate to a point of human being. The question is why? This is a very beautiful Sanskrit poem. Aghara nidra bayamaitunancha samanyame tat pashubir naranam buddhiya esha adigo vishesha buddhiya videnam pashubir samanam. What it means is aharam, food, nidra, sleep, bayam, fear, maitunam, procreation, are the same for human beings and every other being that is there. There is no being that is not afraid. There is no being that is not hungry. Then, what is the difference between us and human beings? We have another faculty called buddhi. And if you don't use the buddhi, you are equal to a pashu. You are equal to an animal. That's basically what this poetry says. Okay? So the question is, if that is the case, and this, then what should be our goals, our objectives as human beings? And there is a concept called purushartha. And again, when you do your various prayers, as part of your sankalpam, they'll say, dharmartha kama moksha siddhyartham. You heard all of it, heard it. We repeat it without knowing what it means. What it means is this. I'm going to reorder that. Dharma, artha. So basically it's dharma, artha, kama, moksha. 4. But I'm going to reorder them. Artha means wealth. That's a basic. And physical security. All kinds of security. Right? That's a basic. Kama, pursuit of happiness. Incidentally, the American Constitution has this as one of the primary rights of the individual. We don't have it in our Constitution. Pursuit of happiness. Third is dharma. doing good outside the self, public service. Fourth is moksha, freedom, liberation from everything. These are the 4 levels. Now, why is artha the basic? Without artha, you cannot achieve anything in the world, without any means. So artha is most important, and there is also a belief amongst many people that, oh, we should not be rich, we should give up wealth. It's nonsense. Taittiriya Upanishad, very clearly, there is a prayer in Taittiriya Upanishad that the Acharya is asking, send me students like a river flowing down a hill. Can you imagine how fast it will come? So send me students. Why? It's not because the Acharya wants to have big school. It's not because the Acharya wants to live a good life. It is for dharma, to procreate or to propagate dharma. That's important. So, money is most important, but the reason why you have money and the reason why you get money, the reason why you spend money needs to be for dharma. We'll talk about what dharma is a little later. Pursuit of happiness is the second step, kama. What is the point of having wealth if you can't enjoy it? Yesterday I was so happy to hear that you had a very nice concert. After all this work that you've done as a community, you've gotten together and you had a nice concert and you enjoyed. So that is enjoyment. That's what pursuit of happiness means. Music enriches us, art enriches us, vacations enrich us, having a vacation home enriches us, having a nice car enriches us. Nothing bad, wearing good clothes enrich us. Question is, how much is enough? That is the point. You may want to have 2 houses, 3 houses, 5 houses, 10 houses. Desiring to have 1 house in every continent or having 1 house in every major capital of the world, I think it's a little excessive. So, balancing the kama or the need for happiness, pursuit of happiness, to dharmic use. If you want to build 1 houses in every city, so that when travelers go from one place to the other, yatris are being fed and housed, that's great. But if you want to have it so that you can go there 1 day in a year, it's, I would say, wasteful. It's not great use money, right? You could use so much good things with it. So applying happiness is also rooted in dharma. Third is dharma itself. Now dharma is an overloaded term. So it depends on the context, the meaning changes. In this context, it is actually called adrishta phalam. Adrishtam means, why is somebody suddenly gets a lottery, somebody does not? Somebody gets a job that pays a lot of money, suddenly somebody invests in some stock and the stock goes through the roof. Adrishtam, luck. What is luck? How do you get luck? What Shastras say is that you get luck by doing good things in your life. So how does that work? This is how it works. Let's say you accumulated a lot of money. Enough for yourself, enough for your family, enough for your children, enough for your children's children, children's children, go on. 10 generations, you have enough money. You have houses everywhere, you have the best cars, you have the best clothes, you eat the best food, you have the best vacations. Okay. Been there, done that. What's next? Some people get a thought. Is it possible for me to invest in this life for my next life? Natural, right? Because you got so much of everything. Can you invest something in this life for next life? You start with that perspective. So you start doing good things, start doing various pujas, homas, and so on and so forth, whether you consciously think or not, but your mind graduates. I've seen this pattern. Anybody who turns 40 automatically gravitates towards this thing. So you do these good things and they show up as prarabdham, good prarabdham for you in your next life. That's your adrishtam. Suddenly you get a bonus, huge bonus if you're working somewhere, adrishtam. Some FD, prarabdham FD has matured. Right? So if you have a big loss, Some prarabdham loan has been matured. You have to pay it. That's it. So they say, if you don't give money appropriately, there are three kinds of forces that will come and take it away. Taskara, thief; Rajan, government; Agni, fire. One of these things will take it away. Okay? So you're better off actually doing good things with the money than hoarding it, because one of these characters is going to take it away from you. Okay? So this is how dharma works. Final is moksham. Many people think moksham is very boring. Why do moksham? I don't want to get into Vedanta, because most of you will think, oh my God, here is the topic on Vedanta. But let me tell you enough to say that moksham is an internal freedom. It does not have to be after death. You don't have to be a sannyasi to get your moksham. Bhagavad Gita was quoted extensively today. Krishna says you can be in any form and you can have moksham. It's instantaneous. Shankara says in Vijayabhek Chudamani, to realize it. Yeah, I realize it for this moment. Can I realize it for a long period of time? It's harder. Okay, let's not get too deep into it. Let's focus on here and now. So the fourth is society. Now society, and this is kind of controversial. When people see this slide saying, oh my God, he's talking about the caste system. It is not the caste system. So you can all relax. This I'm going to talk about Varnasrama dharma. Varnasrama dharma did divide societies into four groups: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But also categorize them across three parameters: birth, occupation, and your character. Janma, karma, and guna. Three parameters. So a person can be born in any of the varnas. He could be doing any of the work of the other varnas, and he could have a character of different varna. For example, Ravana, what was his varna? He was a Brahmana. What was his karma? Kshatriya. What was his guna? Shudra. Take Vidura. What was his janma? What was his janma? Janma varna? Shudra. What was his karma? Brahmana. What was his guna? Brahmana. So you can see there are 64 combinations. You cannot choose, to address your point, where you are born, but you can choose where you are, what you do, and who you are. That's why Krishna said, you are the creator of your own destiny. How do you do that? There is a very nice poem in Taittiriya Upanishad. It says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. So, right? This is a superb encapsulation of the power of the mind, what one can do if your mind is set this way. Many people ask me, how did you invent all these things in your career? I mean, I give them some basic BS answer, but essentially, it is a thought process. It is basically a reorientation of the mind in terms of how you think. And that's how you do it. But coming back to the subject at hand, so you have the spiritualist, the selfless administrator. Kshatriya is supposed to be selfless administrator, not like the selfish administrators that we have. Not all of them are, but the Vaishya is supposed to be a selfish wealth seeker. The difference between Kshatriya and Vaishya is only one thing. One is selfless, the other one is selfish. The Shudra is basically a worker, does not aspire for anything. So you don't need to tell me, you don't need to tell anyone, you know where you're born, you know what work that you do, you know where you are with your character. It's very, very important. Chanakya summarized this best. He said, a man is known by his deeds, not by birth. It was not Chanakya's original quote. You know who actually says this? In the Mahabharata, it is Duryodhana who says this. And Chanakya repeats it. Duryodhana, when Karna is pitched against Arjuna in the very first convocation, right? That's where this happens. Okay, it's very, very important for you to understand this this concept. You don't have to be a Brahmana to be educated. Everybody got education. I've already shown it to you. You don't have to be a Kshatriya to do the right thing. Everybody can. You don't have to be a Vaishya to be selfish and wealth-seeking. Everybody can. You don't have to be a mindless person to follow everybody. Everybody can. It's your choice as to what you want to do. Now, what is the significance of this? A Brahmana did not have power. He did not have money. He did not have numbers. Brahmanas are supposed to be poor. Those of us who are Brahmanas and who are wealth, we're actually doing bad things. With a caveat, with a footnote. If you're accumulating wealth only for yourself, it's bad. But if you're accumulating wealth so you can do good things, it's good. Taittiriya Upanishad, remember I told you, right? And I'll show you many other examples as well in terms of why it is good to actually get wealth. It is good to have wealth. You know, in the famous words of Sir Humphrey, you know what happens, and to just paraphrase, you know what happens when the right guys don't have the wealth? The wrong guys have it. So he talks about power. When the right guys don't have power, the wrong guys have the power. So the right guys need to have the power, the money, so that we can do good things with it. A selfless administrator does not have the knowledge, does not have wealth, does not have numbers, but he has power. The selfish wealth seeker has wealth, but does not have knowledge, power, or numbers. And the worker has numbers, does not have wealth, does not have the power, does not have the knowledge. This is how the whole structure is there. And let me spend one more minute on this. Who are the two avatars that we pray to on a regular basis? Most people pray. Rama and Krishna. Who was Rama? Kshatriya, by birth. Who was Krishna? It's a trick question. I have the answers there if you can read it. He's a Yadava, Vaishya, if you think of him as Nandagopala's son. But if you think of him as a Vasudeva's son, he's a Kshatriya. The principal characters are not necessarily Brahmanas. It can be anybody. That's my point that I wanted to make. Okay? So remember this. It's very, very important to know that irrespective of where you're born, what you do, you can maintain a high character. That's the point of these two slides. So let's talk about how do we see from a Shastra person a life of a Shastra person. All of us are Sanatana dharmis, and whatever religion you belong to, whatever caste you belong to, it doesn't matter. Remember in the last slide, from the Varnas with only the birth parameter is caste system, not the Varnasrama dharma, okay? 3 things you're supposed to do. Prayer, every day. Scriptural study, any scriptures that you follow. 3rd, giving. These are the primary things every human being has to do. Irrespective of what your jati is, what your karma is, what your guna is, you need to do these 3 things. It's so important. Now, giving has 4 kinds of giving. One is called dharmam. Dharmam is giving something in return. Dhanam is giving something without expecting an in return. So that when you start out in the dharma path, when you're starting to invest in your future, you're investing in your adhishtam, you're in your dharmam. So when you go to a temple and you come out, the beggars, what do they say? Dharmam Podu Swami. In Tamil they say, give me dharma. What he knows, even that guy knows that what you're doing is dharma, not dhanam. Dhanam is giving something without expecting in return. Dakshina is what they expected. They're doing some service to you, you give them more than what they expected, that's dakshina. Tyagam, giving up something. Something that you do on a regular basis. It could be a good or a bad habit, it doesn't matter. And for something, for a different cause. So you cannot say, I will give up sugar from today because I have diabetes. It doesn't work. So you need to give it up when you have your strength and you can eat a lot of sugar and you give up. That is tyagam. Okay? Now what are the kind of giving? In the Taittiriya Upanishad again, there is a convocation speech. I won't go through the entire thing, but I'll talk about only a couple of lines. Shraddhaya deham. When you're giving something, give with a lot of attention to what you're giving. Mean it. Just don't write it. Write a check because you want the fame. Shraddhaya deham. Ashraddha. Don't give without ashraddha. Meaning, somebody wants money, here, take it and go. That's not how you should be giving it. You should be giving it with shraddha. Another way of looking at it is also, Kanchi Swami Mahaswami pointed out, ashraddhaya deham. Meaning, give, even if you don't have ashraddha, give. It doesn't matter. So it's a play on Sanskrit, right? Shraddha means attention. Ashraddha means no attention. So he borrowed the second letter from adeyam to this and say ashraddhaya deham. At least give it, even if you don't have shraddha, it's okay, just give. It will somehow work and your psyche will change. Remember, your power of your mind and thought will come into play where you can actually do something great. Then, giving to the right person. Somebody comes and knocks on your door in a car and says, give me money. All these hijras show up everywhere, right? And ask, you don't know who is an hijra, who is not. We don't know whether they need money or not. Giving to them has no consequence. But we don't know if the person is worthy or not. At the right time, you want to do something good for somebody. Say, Kambal Danam, Kambali Danam is very important in our culture. So you decided to give Kambali Danam. When? In July. To whom? Somebody in Chennai. Okay, that is not right. Right? So you need to give it at the right person to the right time. Giving a 1 lakh check as a gift to somebody who's already a billionaire means nothing. Right? So you need to give it to the right person. In the right manner, with humility, understanding that the right quantity is being given, but it is not enough. How much of it is given is not enough. There was a beautiful story that was narrated earlier about how this woman was left abandoned and she had to get a thing. That is the right person. Giving another house to, yet another house to one of your sons or your daughters, it's not the right form of giving. Giving with humility. You are giving, so you shouldn't have the garvam. You should say, please take it. Give it with humility and knowing that this is not insufficient. This is how ingrained it is in our culture when you want to give. And what are the different things of giving? There are 5. It's called Pancha Mahayajna. Prayer is the most important thing. People say, why pray? You can do all these other social activities. What's the point of prayer? A sincere prayer and offering that you do helps not only you, but all the beings. It is multiplied and amplified, and that is given to everyone. There is some idiotic Bollywood actor, I love to bash them up, at least verbally, who talks about, you don't offer, the abhishekams, it's a waste of milk and so on. What the person doesn't realize is when you do abhishekam, it's either collected or it is allowed to flow into a lake or to a river where there are fish and other creatures who live off it, who get nutrition. It's very, very important. I will come to Bhuta Dhanam, Bhuta Yajna, the last. Prayer is most important. Second is honoring your ancestors. They say, why honor ancestors? We don't see them. We don't know how to honor them. There are only 2 crimes that you can commit where there is no nivritti, there is no prashchittam in our culture. One is ingratitude. Second is Guru Droha. The first one is who brought you into this world, your parents, their parents. Because of what they did well, you're doing well. If you don't honor them at least once a year, forget about once a month. If you don't honor them at least once a year, aren't you an ungrateful individual? So you need to make sure that you honor your ancestors. Education is the third important thing, especially Vedic education or scriptural education. Why? Because it trains teachers to train other people to go on the right path. So it's very important. So Vedic education or other scriptural education, if you are in a different religion, it doesn't matter, but giving it for right activities, not giving it for spurious activities. Humanity is the most common thing. Everybody loves it. Let's feed people. Annadanam. Why is Annadanam so important? Because it's the only thing when you give somebody says that's enough. Because you have a stomach. You can't eat anymore. That's why they say it's the most shreshtam of all giving, Annadanam. So at least give Annadanam, if not anything else, but help other people with health care and so on and so forth, economic development, empowerment and so on, that will help them. Finally, the most important thing and very neglected thing today is environment, which is Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta Yajna is supporting your ecosystem. How do you protect your ecosystem? The small ants, even in our daily life, when we do the kolam outside, please use rice powder, don't use plastic colored chalks, okay? Because ants, birds, small creatures come and eat it. You're doing that every day. You're doing your Bhuta Yajna every day. So it's built into our thing. So we say prayer, offering patram, pushpam, neer or jalam as offering, that is fine. Honoring your ancestors, feed at least crows in the morning, dogs in the evening. Feed somebody something, some other creature other than your people. Education, at least feed some scholar on a daily basis, if not every day, once in a year. Humanity, support other people for their economic empowerment. Environment, please do your kolam outside with rice powder so other creatures can eat it. So this is how well it is integrated into our culture. So I'll leave you with this last slide. All of us chase achievement in life. That is the y-axis, right? We all chase achievement, nothing wrong. We have to chase achievement. At some point, we do a 90-degree turn and we do start following fulfillment. Why? Because we feel incomplete. We want to do something more. We want to find meaning of life. So we start following fulfillment. So the way you should look at it is this. If you don't have any achievement or desire for achievement, you don't have any desire for fulfillment, you are a guna shudra. If you search only achievement and no fulfillment, you are a guna vaishya. If you search only fulfillment and no achievement, you are a guna kshatriya. But if you search for selfless, enlightened leadership, you are a guna brahmana. May you all become guna brahmanas and take your foundation and activities forward and help society become a movement, change the country, change society. And you will see that it's the joy that you get from it is immense and the impact that you will make is huge. Thank you so much.
Sri Aravind Sitaraman, a computer scientist with a leadership position in Cisco and with 57 patents to your credit, you led Cisco India's CSR efforts and launched several successful programs including Feed a Child and Adopt a School. After rehabilitating tsunami victims in South India, you championed flood relief efforts in Karnataka. Project Samudaya, created by you, rehabilitated villages through technology and built 3,323 homes, a hospital and 2 schools. We, the Rotarians of Rotary District 3190, salute your vision to make a difference of humanity and confer this, the Serving Humanity Award, on you at the 40th District Conference held at Bangalore, signed by Rtn.Ananth, District Governor.